Councilmember Mayer,
Here.
Councilmember Namura,
Here.
Vice Mayor Solorzano,
Here.
Councilmember Clark,
Here.
and Mayor Alarcon.
Here. And I'll ask that you please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. We'll move on next into agenda modifications, and I will ask staff to share a little bit about tonight's potential modifications.
Sure.
Thank you, Mayor Alarcon and council members. So tonight, staff is recommending that we modify the agenda to postpone several items as a result of the city currently does not have any wireless internet, and so we're unable to allow Zoom comments or Zoom participation or attendance to this meeting. And so there were several items that we either had members of the public or attendees coming in to present the item remotely, or we expected a lot of public participation, and we expected that some of that public participation would probably join the meeting and make their public comments via Zoom. So those items that we're recommending for postponement this evening until hopefully a special city council meeting scheduled on February 3rd. Those items would be the appointments to council advisory groups, which is agenda item 10, the annual comprehensive financial report for fiscal year 23-24, which is item 13, the Harbor Seal Advisory Committee recommendations, which is item 14, the Wine Improvement District establishment, which is item 15, and the live entertainment licensing program, which is item 16. So that's the recommendation this evening.
Thank you. Any questions for staff on behalf of council?
I'll just ask a quick question. For anyone who's who sent in public comment already for one of those items, those will be considered as part of the next agenda packet, correct?
Correct. Thank you, Vice Mayor Solorzano. Yes, those will be included as part of the record for when these items are heard. And then just a clarification, the city manager did let me know that it's not just Wi-Fi that's not working. The city has no internet, period, and has not had it all day.
Okay, great. Thank you. I just want people to know that if they did submit their public comment already, we will receive that in advance of the next meeting.
You may also want to announce about the power potential since we're on generators.
Yes, Councilmember Namura, so we were also instructed that the power is likely to go out this evening. However, we are switched over to generator and do not expect any power to go out.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Okay. Well, should we also be taking public comment, I assume, or can council motion?
Thank you, Mayor Alarcon. We can take public comment. I would recommend taking public comment on this agenda item, and this agenda item, it's not into the substance of any of those agenda items which we are considering or recommending for postponement to a later meeting. It's just on the postponement itself.
Okay. Excellent. So with that, I'll open up public comment if anyone would like to share anything about the postponement of certain agenda items. Seeing none, I'll bring it back to the council for a motion.
First, I just want to say that I understand that folks might be disappointed because some of the topics that we moved were ones that we did expect a lot of feedback on. So we just hope folks can be patient in understanding that the reason we're postponing it is to try to get as much participation as possible via Zoom and public comment. So just wanted to reiterate that. And I'll move to approve the agenda modification.
Second.
Excellent. And I just want to confirm that that includes the scheduling of the special meeting on Monday, February 3rd?
We should probably include that into it.
Okay.
Okay, I'll amend my motion to include addition of the special meeting on Monday, February 3rd at 5:30.
Thank you, Vice Mayor Solorzano. Just to confirm, I just want to make sure we're clear on this motion. So that would be these 5 items would be postponed to a special meeting on February 3rd at 5:30.
Yes.
Yep. Okay. And will you be modifying your second? Excellent. Okay, all of those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Okay, thank you. And moving on to introduction, proclamations, and presentations. We have a proclamation declaring February 2025 as 211 Community Day Celebration Month. With that, I would like to open up any public comment on the proclamation. Seeing none. Oh, yeah, go ahead, if you'd like to make a public comment.
Oh, thank you. Good evening, Mayor Alarcon and City Council members. My name is Pat Keelan. I'm CEO for Communify. And since 2014, we have proudly operated Santa Barbara 211, a free, comprehensive information and referral system available to any Santa Barbara County resident, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Residents can request assistance in over 150 languages by calling, texting, or accessing the website online. I want to thank the City of Carpinteria for your partnership and support of our 211 services. 211 Helpline plays a crucial role in connecting Carpinteria's residents with vital resources and services, particularly during times of crisis. It serves as a lifeline for individuals and families facing various challenges, from basic needs like food and shelter to mental health support and disaster assistance. The helpline's easy-to-remember number provides a quick and reliable way for people to access the help that they need. And Carpinteria residents are utilizing 211 as a lifeline to resources to the community. In 2024, hundreds of Carpinteria residents called 211 for information and referrals. The majority of the callers were female between the ages of 30 and 54, with income levels below $26,000 annually. The top three caller needs were housing, transportation, and community services, such as utility assistance, rental assistance, food and clothing. In short, these resources help struggling individuals and families keep a roof over their head, pay the utility bills, and get to work, get to school, and even medical appointments. As our residents continue to face challenges, 211 is an investment in the well-being and resilience of our community. We're extremely grateful to the City of Carpinteria for being such an important partner and supporting 211. So we hope you will all join us for our upcoming 211 Community Day celebration on Saturday, February 8th at Earl Warren Showgrounds in Santa Barbara. There will be over 60 local nonprofit, and organizations there to provide information and resources on their programs and services. We'll be providing free haircuts, health screenings, and even free food. So we hope you will all be available and join us on Saturday, February 8th. Thank you so much.
Excellent, thank you. With that, I will bring it back to the council for a motion to receive the proclamation.
So moved.
Excellent. May I have a second?
We don't have any more public comment?
Is there any more public comment, Brian?
I'm sorry, we don't have Zoom, so I can't.
Okay, and I don't see any more speakers. So we have a motion. Do we have a second to approve the proclamation before
Second.
we read it? Thank you. So let's go ahead and read the proclamation, and we'll start with Councilmember Mayer.
Whereas the 211 helpline is an information and referral system connecting people to free or low-cost health and human services and current incident and emergency information through call, text, and the web, and
Whereas 211 was first enacted by the Federal Communication Commission in 2000 and now covers 85% of all households nationwide, and
whereas 96% of the population in the state of California has access to 211, and
Whereas in November 2014, 211 became a program of Communify, a Santa Barbara County nonprofit which empowers people and transforms lives through their 16 programs which serve the community, and I think I skipped one.
I think we missed a few here. Okay, I'll continue on then. Whereas in November of 2014, 211 became a program of Communify, Santa Barbara County nonprofit, which empowers people and transforms lives through the 16 programs which serve the community, and
In 2023, 211 had 14,842 web visits, including 12,084 new users to 211sbco.org, and
Whereas in 2023, approximately 11,592 resources were provided to residents throughout the county by a live call specialist, and
Whereas in 2023, the most urgent resident needs included calls about housing, utility assistance, mental health, food insecurity, legal, public safety services, community support services, financial assistance, healthcare, and clothing household needs, and
Whereas 211 Santa Barbara County was first implemented in 2005 and is a free and confidential service available 24 hours a day, 7 days a week in 150 languages to every resident community-wide. And
now therefore the City Council of the City of Carpinteria does hereby declare the month of February 2025 as 211 Community Celebration Month. So with that, we have the proclamation to present to you, and I'll ask all of the council members to take a photo right here in the middle.
Great. I'd like to ask Kimba Lawrence, our Director of Community Services that oversees the program, to join us.
Absolutely.
Okay, ready on three. 1, 2, 3. Got it. Thank you so much.
And I'd like to just say, coming from the organization working at Communify, I know firsthand just how hard you all work and how much you provide the community. So thank you all for what you do. Next, we will move on to public information reports and announcements. We typically have it from law enforcement, but we also have, I believe we can hear reports from the representative of the 1st District.
Mayor, that's correct. We have today our newly elected 1st District Supervisor, Roy Lee, with an update for us.
Thank you.
Thank you, council, staff. I got a complaint. No, I'm here to give you the updates about what's happening in the 1st District. The biggest one that you may have known is the Board of Supervisors has directed staff to come to us, hopefully by late February, early March, amendments to our cannabis ordinance, basically to mandate carbon scrubbers. I know many of us have fought this battle long and hard for over 6 years, 7 years, so there's light at the end of the tunnel. So, and again, thank you for the letter that you brought. I hope to get your support down the road for more. Another update is the dark light ordinance. As Al, I know that you're passionate about this. The county is looking at this in the February meeting. So is hopefully Carpinteria will follow the county steps to make this happen. So that's kind of the updates. And I want to let you know the boards that I'm on, the Adult and Aging Network, Beacon, Communify, and the library and LAFCO. So if you guys ever need anything, I'm here to help with that. So you got any questions for me? If not, I can always come back and bother you guys.
I'll open it up to any questions on behalf of the council.
what was the other ordinance you said? Was it dark sky or dark night? What was it?
Yeah, dark sky, dark night
Okay.
is the ordinance that hopefully not just Carpinteria but Santa Barbara can also adopt.
Okay, got it. Thank you.
Make see the stars more. Good.
And then my only question was, will we be seeing you here regularly on monthly basis, or?
Yes. If not me, then one of my staff members will be attending. But I want to be here. I want to be here at least once a month. Or anytime you have questions, I just live on the street, so it's not that far.
Excellent.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for doing that. Appreciate it very much.
Thank you.
I think it's really meaningful for our community to see our representative here keeping us updated, so thank you.
Yeah. Thank you. And to the community who's watching or just, I'm always available. So I'm here to serve. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. With that verbal report, I'll open it up, if there aren't any other questions on behalf of the council, to any public comments. Okay, seeing none, I will close that, and we don't need to receive and file this report, correct? Okay, let's move on to the next item, which is the city manager's report.
Mayor, council, members of the public, we have our city manager's report, which includes items that are just primarily informational, able to ask some limited questioning, but if there's any greater interest, happy to agendize this for a future meeting. I will also be joined by our Parks and Recreation Director, Jeanette Gant, and our Community Development Director, Nick Bobroff, to help assist me with these updates. So first, just getting an update on our recruitments. Our Chief Building Inspector Plans Examiner tentative start date is February 3rd, so we're excited about that. Our Literacy Coordinator part-time has a tentative start date of also February 3rd. We have a maintenance worker part-time with a pending start date. Hope to get more information on that. Our program manager in the general government department is pending final selection, and so we should have more information by our next regular meeting. Our program manager for the Parks, Recreation, Community Services department has a tentative start date of February the 18th. Our principal planner is in application screening right now. Our finance manager position has a deadline to apply of January 30th of this month. And then new employees, we have a full-time management assistant that started on January 21st, and we have a new part-time Parks and Recreation attendant that started on January 22nd. So both of those individuals will be here to do an introduction at a future meeting. So a lot of stuff going on in the recruitment. Some updates on capital improvement projects, the 2022 pavement rehabilitation project. Again, the year is the day the project was initiated, clearly not completed. And that construction phase is substantially complete, and a punch list work is in progress. And a punch list is essentially when they go through and they kind of just look for any things. They do a walkthrough with the project manager and our staff and see if there's any final things that need to be completed before they can sign off on it. So they're in that process now. The Via Real stormwater project, this construction phase is approximately 75% complete, and that includes storm drains, bioswales, and concrete curbs, gutters, curb ramps, sidewalks, and driveway approaches are complete. The remaining work is a bioretention basin and landscaping. We had a strategic plan retreat on Saturday, January 18th. It was scheduled from 8 to 5. We were really efficient, and we're out by 3:30, so good start. There was the city council, city staff, and approximately 20 Carpinteria residents, and we discussed topics like the mission, vision, value, and the city council goals and priorities for fiscal years 25 through 27. Next steps include city staff and a strategic planning consultant, Tripepi Smith, will meet to review the goals and priorities that were affirmed by the city council and discuss departmental strategic goals and objectives and performance measures to help advance those council goals. Tripepi Smith will assemble that report with the feedback they heard from you all at that retreat and bring back that draft city council goals and priorities for council to hear. Once again, you'll have another opportunity to make any changes that you'd like to make at that time. You'll have another opportunity to make changes at that time, but we'll come back with what we think we heard from the retreat. And then once approved, city staff will utilize the adopted city council goals and priorities to develop departmental, again, strategic goals, objectives, and metrics for consideration, which we hope to bring back in February, March. And then those will be vetted through the budget development and approval process going February through June.
Leave it that way.
Sorry, we're all a little distracted. And so just to explain a little bit about that, so as the city council develops its goals and priorities, the city staff go and develop those work plan items that we feel will advance those. And then we develop metrics to be able to measure those based on our objectives. Now, those still have to go through the budget process. So we may propose something that eventually, as we go through the budget, we determine can't be done at the level or maybe at all. And so there is many opportunities for us to review these, and the actual final conclusion will be as the budget's adopted, because once we know we have funding for those items, that they will be scheduled to occur. So excited about that. And as Supervisor Lee mentioned, we did submit a letter of support to the Santa Barbara County Board of Supervisors regarding the support of their cannabis odor abatement amendments. And regarding our diversity, equity, inclusion efforts here, the city held a DEI committee meeting with the new police chief, Rich Brittingham, and we focused on community safety, diversity in law enforcement, and trust building between the Sheriff's Department and residents of Carpinteria. Next steps are to review the draft strategic equity plan with our consultants from Equity Praxis, and we should have a final report for your council with recommendations this spring. So now I'd like to turn it over to Nick Bobroff to talk about some community development items.
Thank you, Michael. Good evening, Mayor Alarcon and council members. I have just a couple items here in the city manager's report that I wanted to share with your council. The first one was to let you know that the Community Development Department has released a request for proposals on January 2nd to invite submission of a statement of qualifications, references, and cost proposal to assist city staff in the preparation of an environmental impact report, or EIR, to be prepared for the Surfliner Inn project. And so qualified environmental consulting firms have until February 20th of this year to submit their respective proposals for consideration. Following close of the RFP period, city staff will review and score those proposals and select a consultant for recommendation to your council for the awarding of a contract to prepare the project level EIR. The selected consultant will prepare the EIR under the supervision of city staff, and the cost associated with the preparation of the EIR will be borne by the project applicant. At the last council meeting, we also had a member of the public. Oh, maybe we won't get that. Oh, there we go. Okay. We also had a member of the public ask about what the city would be doing to implement the new daylighting law, otherwise known as AB 413. This is a law that took effect on January 1st of this year, making it illegal in California to park within 20 feet to park a vehicle within 20 feet of the approach of a marked or unmarked crosswalk, even if a red curb is not present, or within 15 feet of any crosswalk where a curb extension is present. And so I've got a couple slides here just first to show what we're talking about. So this is that 20-foot area coming into an unmarked crosswalk, in this case where it is now illegal to park. And then this is an example of that 15-foot area within an intersection that has a curb extension where it is also now illegal to park. And the purpose of this law is to improve pedestrian safety at intersections by increasing visibility. And so here's an illustration, right? So with a van parked right by the crosswalk, what you're missing is the lady here pushing the stroller into the crosswalk that you can't see. And so that's what this law is intended to help address. And so in terms of what the city's doing to implement this law, our staff met with the Traffic Safety Committee recently to discuss and identify proposed actions to implement this law here in Carpinteria. Some of the recommendations and action items that came out of that meeting include the Traffic Safety Committee recommends the removal of any T-marked stalls in the downtown that are located within that 20-foot approach of any crosswalk. The Traffic Safety Committee also emphasized the need for public education and outreach regarding this new law and the importance of pedestrian safety. Our code compliance team will begin enforcing this law in February of this year, initially with just a warning, so an educational warning for anyone that's parked within that 20-foot or 15-foot approach. And then beginning in March 1st, actual citations will be issued for any violations of this law. The Traffic Safety Committee also recommended that our Public Works Department begin installing red curbs along major arterial roads such as Carpinteria Avenue and Via Real where necessary to enhance pedestrian safety. And then finally, in support of that, Public Works would also undertake a survey of these arterial roads to identify where these red curb paintings need to occur. And again, would work through public outreach with our social media consultant to help get word out there to the public of these new laws taking effect and the need to comply.
I do have some more to this report, but if there's any questions that you'd like to direct towards Bob Roth.
Yes,
Thank you.
Councilmember Clark.
Can you describe the scoping process for the EIR and how the public might be involved in that process?
Through the mayor, Councilmember Clark. So once a consultant has been selected and the contract has been awarded, the first major effort is to release what's called a notice of preparation. And that initiates kind of a 30 or 45-day public comment period where we be inviting the public to provide input on what types of issue areas or impacts or concerns should be looked at as part of the environmental impact report analysis. And during that initial scoping period, we would also hold a public informational scoping meeting, which is another opportunity for folks to learn about what the EIR will be looking at, what we intend to study, and again, to gather input from the community of what issue areas or impacts or concerns they would like us to take a look at as part of the EIR.
Thanks for your help.
And a quick question about the daylighting law. Will people be ticketed even before the curbs are painted red, or will tickets only occur once the curbs are painted?
Through the mayor, Vice Mayor Solarsino, we will start ticketing regardless of whether the intersections are painted red or not. That they don't need to be painted red in order for it to be a violation. So again, we'll be spending the month of February issuing warnings for violations of it, and then we'll actually begin issuing citations in March.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions? Okay. I'll add a few questions to that. In terms of the RFP for the qualified environmental consulting firm, I'm curious, I don't know when the last time was we had an RFP for that, but are we getting a various amounts of consulting firms, or do we kind of get the same ones come through?
Mayor Alarcon, to be honest with you, we do so few of these that it's hard to say what kind of response we're going to get.
Okay.
The last one that we initiated but never completed was an RFP to help prepare the environmental impact report for the Bluffs One Resort. And in response to that EIR, I think we got two proposals back. But because the applicant hasn't indicated whether they want to move forward with that project, that whole effort's been shelved, and those proposals by now are stale. So even if we wanted to dust that effort off and pick up where we left off, we'd probably actually recirculate the RFPs for that project and start over. I don't know yet what kind of response I'm anticipating to get for the Surfliner EIR. I will say that just following the initial release of the proposals to a number of the local consulting firms, we did get back at least a few acknowledgments of firms that seem interested. So I'm hopeful that we'll get a good turnout.
Excellent, thank you. And then my last question, in terms of the daylighting law, this might be more so for the city manager, but I would like us to do a video. It'd be nice to do a video where, you can visually see where the 20 feet, the new law is for the public. So something to keep in mind.
Thank you for that. And I will bring up now our Parks, Recreation, Community Services Director, Jeanette Gant, to go through some things going on in her department.
Thank you. Good evening. I have a few updates for you all for our Parks, Recreation, Community Services Department. On January 29th, we have an attorney visiting Agewell from 1 to 2:30 p.m. in the Veterans Hall meeting room to present an informative session on the importance of establishing an estate plan and potential consequences of not having one. The lecture will highlight essential tools, including living wills and living trusts, and discuss the importance of planning for incapacity, utilizing documents such as a financial power of attorney and an advance healthcare directive. And on this coming Saturday, February 1st at 1 p.m., you can join Agewell for the Saturday excursion, which will be to the Carpinteria Historical Museum. And it will be a docent-led tour offering a unique opportunity to explore the rich history of Carpinteria and its surrounding areas. And then one more for Agewell. We're excited to bring back the Nutrition for Longevity course offered through SBCC, continuing education, and a partnership with them. We'll be offering, or rather, SBCC will be offering this course Thursdays at 3:15 to 5 p.m. starting this Thursday, the 27th, and it will run through March 22nd. And for those who are interested but might not know how to sign up, you are welcome to attend the first meeting on Thursday in person, and they can help you with registration and sign up. So if you don't want to try to navigate it online, I know it can be challenging. This course is designed to demonstrate how wholesome food can enhance the quality of life and promote longevity. Participants will learn about nutritious meal preparation, optimal food choices, and benefits of an antioxidant-rich foods that reduce inflammation and improve overall health. So we're looking forward to having that class back. And then finally, summer planning has already begun with aquatics. So they've already kicked off preparations for summer season. Right now, really focusing on recruitment efforts for both the pool and beach lifeguards. Staff have created recruitment flyers, went to Carpinteria High School last Friday to table during lunch to share information, and are scheduled to host a virtual recruitment session through SBCC, hopefully in early February. And as you know, we do require various certifications for both our pool and beach lifeguards. So for pool lifeguards, we do require American Red Cross lifeguard training certification, and we'll be offering those certification courses at the pool. We don't have the dates scheduled yet, but we'll have at least 3 different opportunities for people who aren't yet certified but want to come to the pool, get certified, and then hopefully apply to work with us, which would be wonderful. And then we have tentative dates for the USLA training, which is our requirement for our beach lifeguards, set for March 14th through 16th and April 11th through 13th. Applicants only have to attend one of the 2 options, but we are providing 2 this year and hopes to get a few more recruits. And applicants interested in the USLA training must first pass a qualifying swim test of a 500-yard ocean swim in under 10 minutes. And we're offering a lot of different swim dates for people who are interested throughout February and March. And detailed information can be found online at carpinteriaca.gov/become a lifeguard. And that's all I have.
Thank you. I'll open it up to questions on behalf of the council. Nope. Okay. Any other? Those are all your reports?
Yeah, that concludes our reports. I was admiring all the training they go through, and I was questioning whether I could run 500 yards in 10 minutes. So I think it's awesome that we have those people out there.
Awesome. Okay. Okay, thank you. With that, I'll go ahead and open up the public comment for the city manager's report, and I will ask Rogelio Delgado to come up to the podium.
Thank you. Rogelio Delgado, Carpinteria resident. Basically, this is about the 20 feet new law. The question that I have, I heard that on February the sheriff is going to be issuing citations and, warnings, and on March, actual tickets. But this is what I have seen, November and December. I'm going to give you this location, Villarreal and Baylor. The stop sign next to the freeway. November, I saw a sheriff debris issuing a ticket to this car 1 foot away from the stop sign. December, same thing. That's I thought that was kind of confusing to me whether that was the appropriate thing to do for the sheriff. And what I'm hearing here is that they're not supposed to be issuing tickets until March. So that's a question that it's on my mind right now, because I was there. I saw that sheriff issuing that ticket to that 2 cars, parked almost next to the stop sign. So that's now on the opposite side. I have seen cars parked on red next to a stop, next to a street. And there's even oil stains there from weeks, months. I reported this 3 months ago. Right now, before coming to the meeting, same problem. No one enforces that. Was just wondering. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. Next, we will move on to the public comments on matters not on the agenda. Oh, yes. Yeah, for the city manager report, absolutely. It's all written down. Yeah.
Hi, Susan Allen, and I'd like to comment on the city manager's report and thank staff for just getting on that daylighting issue. I know it's a really important issue to many people, but I think it points out a larger problem, and maybe what would be helpful is to know how many parking places are going to be eliminated in the city. And with all of the state's wisdom, they're telling you you can't park in this zone, but they're also saying, oh, and you can build all these buildings and you don't have to provide adequate parking. So that kind of puts you between a rock and a hard place, because suddenly there's not going to be adequate parking anywhere in town. So I'm suggesting maybe you start looking at some kind of parking program for neighborhoods that, either you have a neighborhood ticket, so one neighborhood doesn't start impacting another. You're going to have to do something. So just a thought that maybe you want to get ahead on this issue. And to put dittos on the last speaker, yes, I actually drove over, and I can point out any number of cars parked in red zones, including a fire hydrant, and that's an every night issue in my neighborhood. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other public comments on the city manager's report? Okay, seeing none, I'll go ahead and open up the public comments on matters not on the agenda, and I'll ask Michael Baker, followed by Roy Lee, although I'm not seeing him here anymore. So,
good evening, Mayor Alarcon, and my name is Michael Baker, and council members. My name is Michael Baker, and I have the honor of being the CEO for United Boys and Girls Clubs. We have our club here in Carpinteria, which is exactly the same age as me. It looks a lot better than I do, I'll admit that, for 57 years old. I just wanted to let you know a couple things. First and foremost, I want to give a special shout out to Councilmember Nomura. When I always point out and talk about Boys and Girls Clubs, and you want to have proof that Boys and Girls Clubs work, you need not look any further than right there, because that's a product of Boys and Girls Clubs. So really proud of the fact that you're a club kid, and we're very much always exciting when we're able to go in front of a dais and see that. So thank you for that. I'm here to talk to you tonight about our reimagined Carpinteria event that we've had for over 40 years. This year we've had to move it up quite a bit. It's actually going to be on March 15th at our Carp Club, and it's going to be the Best Bites and Big Futures. I'm going to, if that's okay, to hand these over here for for council members. There's 6 there. There's one for the city manager who comes every year. Thank you very much for your continued support as well. Appreciate that. We are looking forward to featuring different restaurants here in the city of Carpinteria, as well as all the proceeds supporting our local club here in Carpinteria. Very excited about that. And I will tell you, one of the exciting things that's going to happen at the Carp Club, all of our clubs, but at the Carp Club, which will impact this community, is that we will be having our late hours again, staying up until 7 p.m. Monday through Friday, instead of 6. And that will be for teens, middle school and up. And then we're looking at one Friday a month. We'll be open till 8:30 as well, special for just for teens to try to keep those kids off the streets and in a safe environment. So I encourage you to come down and see what's happening at the Boys and Girls Club. We'd love to give you a tour. But hopefully we'll see you on the 15th, March 15th at the Boys and Girls Club. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, we have Stephen Markison.
Good evening, Mayor, Council, staff, participants. I'm here to discuss the process of needing and getting help through the City Council, the body that regulates codes, ordinances, licenses, and more. August and September 2023, we met with the mayor, our council member, made 3 appearances before council, and met with Nick Bobroff. This effort yielded effective and reasonable results, a return to normalcy. March 25th, 2024, our return to normalcy was erased by the council. Council heard from architects of 2 very misinformed and misleading petitions spreading gross disinformation. The issue was not live music, the issue was people's rights, and more importantly, residents' qualities of life. A license is a privilege, not an entitlement, and the granting of such must not be influenced by family, friendships, or alliances. I've made maybe 20 appearances at council meetings, limited to 3 minutes each, to plead for my rights. Later this edition, next week, I will have 3 minutes to go over a 23-page presentation that will be accompanied by a slideshow of reported findings that I'm going to challenge. Where and how can I receive reasonable consideration, I ask you? Thanks for hearing me.
Thank you for your comments, Mr. Markison. Next, we have Rogelio Delgado.
Thank you. Rogelio Delgado, Carpinteria resident. I might be over 3 minutes because I'm gonna translate this into English. I'll start in Spanish. Quiero recordar que el 75% de la población aquí en Carpintería es hispana. Hasta hoy, la presidenta de México, Claudia Sheinbaum, ha recibido a 4,000 personas que han sido deportadas. 2017, el congresista Salud Carvajal y el monseñor Martini ofrecieron una plática ahí dentro de la iglesia de San José, protección a migrantes, alrededor de 100 personas. Yo estuve involucrado en ello. 2017, Jamie Persoon, la superintendente, dio la protección a los estudiantes. 2018, Diana Rigby hizo lo mismo, protegiendo a los estudiantes del servicio de migración. Hay miedo en escuelas, hospitales, lugares de trabajo. Vean la cosecha, las cosechas. La gente no va a trabajar por miedo. miedo a la separación de las familias. Esto es acerca de derechos humanos. Sí, las personas que están fuera de la ley no tienen derecho ni siquiera en ciudades santuarias. Ellos se van y es lo que se ha visto en estos 3 días. Miles y miles. Chicago, Boston, Los Ángeles. Personas no deseables. Ayer leí en las noticias que los agentes de inmigración estuvieron en Santa Bárbara, Ingolite, se llevaron a una persona. Veo aquí 5 distritos, 5 representantes que van a hacer, tienen pensado hacer en cuanto a orientación a las personas de su distrito. Yo tocaría puertas. ...2017... aquí el gobierno de la ciudad, Fred Shaw era el alcalde en ese tiempo, marzo de 2017, dijo, momento, vamos a pausar esto, porque se tiene que tomar acción en cuanto a declarar a Carpinteria ciudad santuaria o no, para la protección. Pero eso fue en 2017, ahora estamos en 2025. Tenemos, digamos, a 5 gobernantes que son diferentes al 2017. Tenemos un manejador de la ciudad diferente. Entonces, mi pregunta es, ¿tienen pensado? 2017 lo hicieron en marzo, ahora estamos en enero. ¿Tienen pensado hacer algo al respecto? ¿Tomar acción al respecto? What I'm saying is that Carpinteria is 75% Hispanic, and President Claudia Sheinbaum, as of today, has received 4,000 people back from the U.S. And 2017, Acting Superintendent Jamie Persoon protected the students, the schools. 2018, Diana Rigby did the same thing, protecting the students from immigration agents going into the school. There's fear everywhere. We have seen that immigration agents, yes, the outlaws have to go, regardless if it's a sanctuary city or not, but they're also taking families who happen to be on their way. That's what they're saying. We are going after outlaws. But if there's people that haven't committed a crime in our path, they're going to, they're leaving. And that's what they're doing.
I'm sorry, Mr. Delgado,
Yes.
just 30 more seconds
Yes,
to
correct.
wrap up. Thank
Yes,
you.
and March 2017, different government officials, different city manager, they're saying that they would say that they were gonna wait and see approach. Now, the fear is real, and it's not only fear; it's facts that we see, that we're seeing every day. And look at people are not showing up for work. That's so. 2017, it took action on March. It's January, so this is the question: what are you going to do about it? Are you going to how are you going to inform people? Knock on doors. So the question is, what's your stand? What's your stance on Carpinteria as a sanctuary city? Please take action. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. Okay. Bringing it back to the council, any questions, follow-up questions for staff? Nope. I do have one question. In terms of sanctuary cities, this is a question I've asked recently, but if maybe city staff can speak a little bit to sanctuary cities and maybe what that process was like. I believe it was in 2017.
Mayor Alarcon, council members, this is something that I'm not prepared to answer that question in full this evening.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not sure if Michael has any additional information, but it's something that we can definitely bring back to the council. Know that we are, it's only been a week, but we are taking everything that's happened and we're meeting internally to try to understand where that leaves the city in terms of impacts to potential policies. And so we can come back with a larger presentation on, the ability to become a sanctuary city, what are some impacts, what those impacts would be, et cetera, and kind of any of the other immediate impacts of executive orders on different municipal affairs.
Excellent. Thank you. I would be for that.
Yeah, before that, but and any other thing short of that we can do to, help protect people.
Mm-hmm. Happy to include that as well, Councilmember Clark.
Thank you. All right. Moving on to the next item on the agenda, which is our consent calendar.
I doubled up on my speaker slips. I was trying to say paper.
Okay.
Sorry.
No, that's okay. I'm only seeing 11 and 12, but.
Oh, that one too.
Yeah.
Busy night, and oh my gosh, and you actually took some things off. I do other things with my life. I guess this comes under the heading as, who do you call? So if you're walking down Dump Road on your usual morning walk, you might see an issue. You could call APCD, you could call the gas company, you could call Regional Water Quality Control, you could call Coastal Commission, you could call NOAA, or you could call the city, depending upon who's in charge of what problem. The reason I bring this up is, I believe at your last meeting, I think, or the meeting before, a gentleman got up he's speaking as a private citizen, but worked for Beacon. Beacon is a subcontractor of Chevron, and I believe operates the pier. He mentioned that he was opposed to closing or had a concern about closing the beach if that were to happen. So, because he couldn't go down and inspect the pier. And I'm listening to this at home going, oh my gosh, if he wanted to go down and inspect the pier, he needed a takings permit. That would be NOAA. And did he do that? Or did he just go down and do it and hope that nobody saw? So through the years, obviously, I've spent a lot of time walking down Dump Road and have figured out which agency to call, not always, and don't always get a response, it's a concern that someone who works for a company wouldn't realize that they shouldn't just go down on the beach without getting the proper permits. The problem is nobody knows who to call. And he could very well go down on the beach and somebody see him, and it's already happened. If the seals are there, and this would be in the summertime, already be scared in the water. So I'm hoping somehow maybe the city could be, the lead person, and maybe talk to Beacon, talk to Chevron, and remind them what the rules and regulations are. And I think this is going to be extremely important as you go towards the Chevron decommissioning of the plant. I understand there were already people down on the beach to the west. The seals weren't scared in the water, but they were on the beach inspecting pipelines. I don't know, nobody knows whether they got permits to be in that area at that time. So we need an umbrella person to help, but I have everybody on speed dial. but not everybody does, and I think it's going to be important as decommissioning moves forward to make sure that there's some kind of oversight with all of these different agencies because they're all going to be involved. Thank you.
Before we move on to the consent agenda, any other public comment? Okay, seeing none, let's move on to consent agenda, please.
Can I actually ask a question of City Attorney really quickly? I don't know if I should have said this during agenda modifications, but if I want to pull an item from consent, does that happen now, or should I have done it before?
Vice Mayor Solorzano, it happens now.
Okay.
So you haven't missed the.
Okay,
yeah.
great.
Would you like to
Yes.
pull an item?
I'd like to
Which
ask,
item would you like to pull?
To pull item number 7, they authorize the city manager to execute the agreement for joint use of Carpinteria Unified School District athletic facilities. And I'd just like to request that it be brought back with a presentation by staff at a future council meeting. I think that'd be a really helpful topic for the community to hear about, since it is about public use of some facilities that COSD operates.
Thank you, Vice Mayor Solorzano, through the mayor. That's something that we can do. Maybe we'll even try to bring that back at the special meeting on February 3rd. Maybe we can add it to that agenda.
Does the council need to agree to have that done, or do we need a vote on that?
I believe that it should be a vote. So
Okay.
You've made a motion,
Okay.
and then so it's. I now understand more what your request was. So I think it's. Sorry, I'm just thinking through. It makes sense to do that in the consent agenda now, but you will have to make a motion, and then the council will consider that and vote on whether they want to also postpone this item.
Okay, so I'll consider that my motion to please remove item 7 from the consent calendar and bring it back at a later meeting with a staff presentation.
Second.
Sorry, public comment. Shall I open that now? Okay, with that, I'll go ahead and open up public comment for postponing item number 7 and bringing it back for a presentation. Seeing no public comment, I'll bring it back to the council. All those in favor, please say aye.
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 Thank you. Okay, thank you. Being that we're still on consent item, if there is any motion to approve the remaining items?
So I move to approve the remaining items.
May I have a second?
A second.
Thank you. Let me go ahead and open up public comment before we move forward. Any public comment on the remaining items? Seeing none, I'll bring it back to the council for a motion. All of those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Aye. Okay, thank you. Moving on to item number, actually 10 has been postponed. I just want to clarify. We'll move on to item number 11, which is the Code Compliance Quarterly Report, Quarter 4.
Good evening, council members, mayor. Tonight, I'm presenting the Code Compliance Quarterly Report, Quarter 4. All right, so a little background, the Code Compliance Division enforces local and state laws for the city of Carpinteria. Staff includes 1 Code Compliance Supervisor and 1 Code Compliance Officer 2, with varied schedules, serving the city 7 days a week. And the best way for the public to reach us for a request or questions is through the online portal found at the address on the presentation, or you can reach us by phone and our email address there. Total cases open for quarter four was 123 cases with parking and graffiti and animal services topping the list this quarter. Since it is quarter four and the end of the year, I decided to add some yearly stats as our software is now gathering more and more data. I can pull that out, and so you should be seeing some pretty neat stuff coming up in future reports. This is showing basically 2024, all the cases that were opened and under what category. So we started gathering most of our data in 2023, and 2024 had a full year. And you can see that although most of the cases opened or managed were roughly the same amount, we did see a big difference in the time that code compliance is putting out on these cases. And some of that has to do with managing how to gather that time and put it into the system. So as you can see, like some of the parking one, I think, shows a big growth in time spent on parking over the prior year. But I think that is due to a couple things, like I said, how to manage that time entry, and then also probably some more tows were involved in 2024. All right. Next slide shows the actions for cases opened. So, for example, 507 inspections were conducted. Now, this could be inspections that produced nothing, and so they were closed right away, to cases that are currently open and we are working on. With 319 re-inspections, so a follow-up was needed. And then service requests, these came in at 306. These are the service requests that generated a case to be open. So we took in a lot more service requests, but these are the ones that actually produced the case. And then notice of violations were sent out were 87 contacts. These could be homeless contacts to contacts for off-leash, anything that produced a case to be open. Vehicle tows at 47, looks like 21 administrative citations issued, and 7 compliance orders, and site cleanups for homeless encampments. 4, these are ones that code compliance was involved in. Public Works Department probably had some that didn't require us to be present, and I know they were involved in quite a bit more, along with the parks system. This slide is our customer satisfaction. So after a case ends, the customer or the citizen will get a notice to participate in a survey. And you can see these are the stats for those for quarter 4. How requests are being reported, we're still seeing a lot of traffic through the city's website, which is a great way to have those requests come in, as well as the app that you can download on a smart device, and then the old-fashioned phone call. Types of requests that we are seeing, a lot of parking issues tops our list, usually quarter to quarter. Followed by the noise complaints, and we do have a other section, and this one kind of is a capture-all, where if the citizen can't quite fit where their request belongs, they can throw it in the other. So that other can make up a noise complaint, abandoned vehicle complaint. So this slide is for cases, code compliance cases that were opened. You can see graffiti was quite high for quarter 4. And then we did have a little increase in the homeless contacts. And the slide, this slide will show the map for those contacts. And I point out the Carpinteria Creek where the sensitive habitat, where a lot of the complaints came in, although it's represented by one pin drop, that is multiple cases to that. And then the other ones followed throughout the city. Just to kind of give an illustration of what we're seeing out there. Public Works, Parks, and Code see these are typical type of encampments that we're removing, as well as contacts being made out there in Carpinteria. Parking citations. We did have an increase in registration citations go out in quarter 4, as well as our standard red zone or street sweeping, the no parking zones, and abandoned vehicle 72-hour notices. And that's the typical type of, cars that we are getting called in on and responding to throughout the city. And for animal control, quarter 4, we had a relatively slow month, which was great. We issued out 39 reminders for licenses. We did some welfare checks and took in some protective custody cases. And that concludes my report, and I'll follow up with any questions.
Thank you. I'll open up to questions.
Yeah, a couple quick questions. In terms of the sensitive habitat contacts that you make with the people experiencing homelessness, the pictures were really helpful for us to get an idea of what that looks like. Are there what options might there be for trying to prevent that accumulation of materials and trash in those sensitive, areas near water and near, creeks and that type of thing?
Yeah, so, we've already posted closures of those areas, and of course, attention to that area, so code compliance in the parks and Public Works could just continue to do efforts to try to do some sweeps through there and just kind of make it a priority. It is quite reduced from previous years, so we're doing well, but,
And if we were to look at something like some sort of, I'm sure there would be maybe potentially issues that I don't know about, but like legal issues with fencing or with putting something there that doesn't allow for the buildup of materials just in those sensitive wildlife areas.
Yeah, that's a great question and probably better suited for legal or Nick or something.
Vice Mayor Solorzano, through the mayor, I don't believe, I can't think of off the top of my head any legal restrictions on, well, it depends on what we're trying to fence off, right? But fencing could be a possibility. I'm not sure it would always be a deterrent, would be my concern, is that it could just make it harder for code enforcement staff to get in there and remove items when they needed to be removed.
I could see that. So maybe just trying to think of some, I don't know if there's creative ways maybe that other cities have addressed it, but it just seems like it's a lot of work for your small staff to be clearing when there's that accumulation. And again, like in an area that the city has kind of designated as being sensitive wildlife sort of territory. But so I guess it's a question maybe that we can have more discussion on in future meetings or something along those lines.
Through the mayor, Vice Mayor Solorzano, I'd just add, we've tried to varying degrees, for example, with the freeway work that was going on, several years ago of trying to make those areas underneath the freeway overpasses less accommodating for, an encampment, right? By how the rock riprap is placed so that there aren't big, areas that would allow for an encampment, or planting areas out with, dense native vegetation that makes it maybe less inviting. Sometimes that works. Other times, you know, to Jenna's point, right, the folks just, you know, kind of retreat farther into these areas where it's even harder for us to see them or harder for us to get to them or make contact with them. So it's certainly not a foolproof approach. You know, I think the best method, as David said, is just an increased presence down there to, you know, kind of make contact with these folks and nip a bud in them before the encampments really, you know, get too large or get entrenched and get established there. That's probably the best way.
And actually, that leads into my next question, which is that is it possible to ask for, as we're going to budget discussions, of what it would look like to bring to reinstate that third code compliance position? I know we discussed it at our strategic planning meeting, but that would be something I'd be really interested in seeing what kind of impact that have on the city budget, because just given all the hard work that you know David and Henry are doing, but knowing that with, you know, that big increase in the amount of time, you know, for even just dealing with parking, and there's just two of you, often only one person who's on service for a day. I think that given the public comment we get, that would be something that would be really worthwhile service to the public to look at bringing that back. So is that something that maybe I can ask if that can be part of the going forward, part of the budget discussions on looking what the estimate would be for that position to be reinstated?
Yes, Vice Mayor Solorzano, absolutely. We could bring it back, depending on how soon you wanted the information, we could bring it back sooner as part of like a city manager's report, you know, essentially being, you know, the average cost of that position and some of the benefits and things, or we will also be discussing it in more detail with all the other positions during the budget process. So happy to bring it back at any time that council would like.
That's great. Thank you very much.
Any other questions? Yes.
Thank you.
Councilmember Clerk.
The parking is a kind of ongoing concern and just obviously getting bigger and bigger and bigger and a whole lot more hours for you. Just wondering, you know, I mean, I get it that public parking is public parking, but, you know, I'm just wondering if there's anything we can do policy-wise. I understand there's a lot of problems with maybe small businesses taking up places where residents used to park on the street with their work vehicles. I'm just interested in you know, why do we have, obviously we have more cars than we have parking places, but that's the problem. But, you know, what can be done?
Sure.
More than giving people tickets.
Right, Councilmember Clark, are you referring to the commercial vehicles
Well,
more
in that one example, yeah.
Okay, okay. Yeah, I mean, obviously, we do address commercial use in residential areas from time to time. Yeah, in fact, I started a case today with a commercial vehicle that was reported. So we do that. So it's definitely a way to handle that. But like you said, it's a bigger picture than just.
Where's everybody going to park?
Yeah. I'm sorry, I don't have that answer for you.
Yeah, I know. I guess I just thought I'd commiserate in public.
Councilmember Nomura, I believe you had a question? No? Okay. I actually do have a question. In terms of the parking, when I was looking at the 23 and 24 data, it seems like the number of cases, obviously with parking increased, and that translated in double the amount of hours compared to last year. So are those number of cases, like, are those like 70, are those tickets that we're giving? I guess I'm translating the number of hours to income or revenue that the city is receiving. Like, is that done intentionally, or is this something that's just done organically because you're receiving more complaints about vehicles parked in certain areas? If you can just provide some additional clarity on the cases and the hours specific to parking.
Yeah, I think it touches on all those topics. I think we just started to get a handle on this reporting, the new software, and so we were kind of feeling it out. And we may have not been capturing all of our time correctly, and we still may not, you know, but we're still learning. But I think we're capturing it a little better now, and I think it reflects, because you're right. There's only, you know, a small difference in this report of parking is just dealing with the abandoned vehicles or the 72-hour vehicles.
Got it. Okay.
It's not with the rest of the tickets on the parking side of
Oh, okay.
stuff. Yeah.
Perfect. Thank
So
you. It's
these
not like
are
the 60
requests-
minutes
Yeah,
or the
no.
90. Okay.
No,
Thank
no.
you for clarifying.
Yeah. And so, yeah, I think the time as the tows that we were doing increased, I think that took a little bit more time than last year, and stuff like that. And then just capturing the time a little bit better than we had.
Excellent. Thank you. All right. Seeing no other questions, I will go ahead and open up public comment. And I have two speaker slips, Stephen Markison, followed by Susan Allen.
Good evening again. I love the idea of adding another code enforcement officer. It would be, I think, a tremendous benefit. I think David Hernandez has the toughest job in this town. The Code Compliance Q4 report references 28 noise complaints. These complaints are real. It's written 20 of these complaints relate to the IBC and originate from 2 reporting parties. There are 6 properties that are in the direct line of fire from the sound of outdoor live entertainment produced by the IBC. 4934 Dorrance, 4949 Dorrance, 355 Linden, 301 Linden, 255 Linden, 4977 3rd Street. These addresses are the most obvious sensitive receptors. 3 of these properties are uninhabited, and one is a short-term rental, Playa Lodging. If there are no residents, there can be no complaints. The Playa Lodging is adjacent to my home. A few of the vacationers have asked me about the campfire smoke and the loud bar band. One couple asked me if there was a way to complain. I shared the city's service complaint tab on the city's website. Visitors generally are not inclined or enthusiastic about launching complaints. They're simply trying to enjoy their vacation time and the peace of the world's safest beach that is Carpinteria. The egregious and inconsiderate behavior by the IBC, sanctioned by the city, would be cause and reason for visitors to travel to other parts of the Central Coast to spend their money. October 19th, 2024, we bumped into David Hernandez as he was taking measurements on 3rd Street. I invited Mr. Hernandez to come into our living room with his measuring device. Standing in our living room, Mr. Hernandez commented how he could make out the lyrics of the songs coming from the IBC. The music was incredibly loud October 19th, possibly as loud as December 15th, 2023, when the IBC received their first administrative citation on December 18th for violation of the conditions of their entertainment license. Isn't it time we reinstate effective conditions in the entertainment license? Simply put, live entertainment should not be audible on the residential side of Linden. This would stop the noise complaints. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. Susan Allen, followed by Eileen Markison.
Susan Allen here. You call them code compliance. I call them the dynamic duo. Just look at the list of things that they do. It's huge, but there's only 2 of them, and they don't work after 5 o'clock. Well, maybe sometimes you do, but not usually, and that's sometimes when problems occur. So again, dynamic duo, and as I make my comments, I don't want you to think that I'm criticizing them in any way. It's just frustration. One of the things I comment on frequently is unleashed dogs. I was walking in my favorite place out on the bluffs and witnessed a leash dog and an unleashed dog. The unleashed dog was fighting with the leash dog. One of the people about my age, fell down. And I came to the hard realization that, we lost our beloved Blitz last year. If we get another dog, it's going to be very difficult for me to feel safe walking a dog out on the bluffs. Our dogs were always on the leash, not a problem, but I have to be concerned about a dog coming after me. And at my age, I don't need to be on the ground, just beyond that. So I think you need to think about the safety of everybody. And while people might think it's fun, and their dogs are always very nice, that it really is a concern for a lot of people. I don't think just me, I'm just the mouthy one. I also have a concern about ongoing problems. And again, no criticism, but we have a situation, kind of a neighbor that does, not in backdoor neighbor, let's put it that way. And there's ongoing problems with trash, ongoing problems with noise, ongoing problems with things they just do. And we complain, or I shouldn't say that, we request service about these issues, but I don't always get a response, particularly in this situation with these apartments. So I'm just wondering what happens. We don't always get a response to a complaint. I've taken pictures and I don't hear back. So I just kind of want to know what happens. They're out there someplace and somebody's going to hopefully get after them sometime, but they have been there for a while. And then my other question is, how often do you warn someone if they have an unleashed dog or they're parked in the wrong place? It seems to me you want to educate somebody, but after that, you're kind of just spinning your wheels if they're not going to be compliant. And maybe the way, and I know we're a really friendly city and we want to make everybody like us, but some people just don't get it. So I think if you offer a warning, then that's it. Maybe you could do 2 warnings. But after that, I think it's time to start ticketing people and let them know you're serious, and then maybe we wouldn't have a lot of time spent on just warning, and just telling people this is it. I'm sorry. Don't like the hard-nosed approach, but if you're not listening, maybe that's the best way to go. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. Eileen Markison, followed by Marilyn Jenkins.
Good evening, staff, Mayor, Vice Mayor. I was reminded tonight when I saw Roy Lee make his announcements about the scrubbers that are now being mandated for grow houses, for cannabis grow houses, to assist in the transmission of unwanted skunk smell in the Carpinteria Valley. It's a county issue. I brought up a number of months ago that what some of those residents in the Carpinteria Valley were experiencing with odor generated from grow houses is analogous to what we've been experiencing with live entertainment, specifically in our neighborhood. Our complaints are only in connection with one live entertainment licensee, and that is Island Brewing Company. I love that the grow houses are not being shut down. They'll be continue to keep on keeping on. And I love the idea that the scrubbers will be in place to protect residential uses, which have clearly been impacted. I live in a household, it is a sensitive receptor. We are truly affected by the noise generated by IBC. We would love to see these conditions that regulate at least the containment of the sound. We're not talking about hours of operation. our issue has always been about the containment of live outdoor sound so that it doesn't come across Linden and into our households. And it does. And it has truly disrupted my life, my mental health. And, you know, again, if they can put in legitimate sound mitigation, you know, at that facility, IBC, at the brewery, it could be incredibly helpful in curbing the complaints and making my mental health a little bit more stable. It's really had a negative impact on our household. Thanks.
Thank you for your comments. Marilyn Jenkins.
City Council members, good evening. I first want to start by saying I'm frustrated by the complaint situation. You're asked to make a complaint about the noise 3 days a week. Typically, the noise is bothersome. It means you have to be home, you have to write something online, you have to then submit it, and then it says that your request has been dealt with. And all that means, it seems, is that it's tallied. I want to comment about, first, the City Council's job. The job is to serve community members and to be sure that residents are equitably served. Secondly, California law protects residents from excessive noise through a number of laws: the Health and Safety Code, the Penal Code, and the Civil Code, all of which aim to ensure Californians have the right to a peaceful and quiet environment. And finally, I'd like to remind you of the golden rule: treat others as you'd like to be treated. And I wonder how many of you would accept noise that comes into your property 3 days a week. It's almost half the week. Sometimes those 3 days, sometimes just 2. But I would call this noise pollution. Excessive nuisance noise is not acceptable. Continuing and repeated violation of noise levels is breaking the law. And the council has endorsed somebody doing that. I don't understand why you would. I don't understand how you would feel if you were the people affected this way. And finally, the charts that I saw online, and I don't know who produced those charts, but one of the things they said was the decibel levels are sometimes at 70. We've clocked it at more than 95 at times. And the city of Santa Barbara allows noise to not exceed 50 feet from the person making the noise. Recently, I walked over, last night I think it was, Sunday afternoon, somebody was performing, and I realized that it wasn't drums and it wasn't guitars amplified, it was a single voice. And I walked past the brewery. The guy was inside, but the mic was so loud it was audible inside my house, doors and windows closed. That's all I have to say about the issue. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. Rogelio Delgado.
Thank you, Rogelio Delgado, Carpinteria resident for a long, long time. And talking about code compliances, there's a lot. I'm just gonna focus on 2 of these. Okay. For many years, people complain about the marijuana odor. Years went by, thousands of people complaining, sending emails, letters. Attorneys were involved a lot. homeowners associations were involved. Took years for finally make it possible for the scrubbers. And they tried to make it possible, but it was 3-2 all the time. Now, with Roy Lee, he made a difference. And it wasn't 3-2, it was 5-0. That's what it takes. For example, that's what it took for the scrubbers to be, let's say, enforced. Now, but that's people took this as a goal, and people didn't give up. Years went by, and order still there. Actually, that was the welcome sign to our city, Carpinteria. That marijuana order. It wasn't the beach. It was that order, day or night. Now, but the noise complaints. How many people have actually complained? Probably 100 more need to complain. Probably 3 of you need to agree. I don't know. But I think it's been a year since some people have been complaining about the entertainment noise. I have said it 3-4 months ago. It's up to. It seems to me that most people like it the way it is. They like live music, regardless of the hour of the night. I think that you're doing a good job, and you're listening to people, and if people want to make more noise about it, you're telling them, yeah, okay, come and complain. But I think that in order for something to be realistic, more people need to show up, more people need to write emails, letters, attorneys, maybe. But as of now, I think that that's the law. And I have always followed the law. If the law says it's okay, then it's okay. But who knows, maybe in a year or 2, 6 months, things might change. But thank you.
Thank you. Okay. Any other public comment? Seeing none, I will bring this back to the council. If I can request a motion for receive and file.
I move to receive and file the code compliance fourth quarter report.
I would second that. We're also asked to amend the motion to also include research and data for a third officer.
Okay. Sure. I amend my motion to include that.
Okay. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye. Aye.
Excellent. Thank you. Moving on to item number 12, which is the former Veneco oil pipeline abandonment project.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Good evening, council members. I'm pleased to report the closeout of the former Veneco oil pipeline number 0470 abandonment project. I'd like to say another capital project checked off the books. I believe there might be a couple of council members who don't know the background behind this particular project. So I'm going to go through that right now for the benefit for those before the time of when this was awarded by your city council. So in January 2022, the city applied for what we call Senate Bill 170 funds. They're earmarked funds from the state of California for the abandonment of a former Veneco oil pipeline. And this particular numerical number 0470, that's just the designation of that pipeline. No, it's not attributable to any city or city staff type of project number. It was just that number of that pipeline. That's an identifier by the state fire marshal. And in March 2022, the city received Senate Bill 170 funds in the amount of $500,000. On October 10, 2022, it was the city council at that time that awarded a construction contract to the joint companies of Beacon West Energy Group, LLC, and Pacific Petroleum California Incorporated in the total base bid amount of $444,888 for this project. On October 11, 2022, the notice of award was issued to the joint company, in order to begin the process of executing the construction contract, including furnishing of performance bonds, a payment bond, certificates of insurance, and insurance endorsements. So the notice of award is basically a city staff or city standard operating procedure on that. It was not until October 21st, 2024, 2 years later, that the city finally issued a notice to proceed to the joint companies. And the reason for that, it really was attributable to the process duration of obtaining access agreements from Chevron USA to access its property, because the particular location of this Veneco oil pipeline, the job site, so to say, is within Chevron property. So during that time frame of basically almost 2 years, it really took that long because there's back and forth between both parties' legal counsels, the city and Chevron USA. So come today, or to this particular moment in time, the project is now complete. And the general scope of the work included abating existing contents of the pipeline, not oil, but it is water contents, but water treated with biocide, as well as corrosion inhibiting materials. So the state fire marshal of the California Department of Forestry and Fire Protection ordered the city to continue abandoning this particular pipeline. In other words, removing these water contents that are treated and filling it with material that is approved by the United States Code of Federal Regulations. So this particular project removed the water contents and replaced it with nitrogen gas. So a nitrogen gas is basically an inert material. In other words, it's non-toxic, it's non-flammable, but with any other gas, it does have dangers. But in this particular use or purpose for the pipeline, it's intended to, one, remove the former contents, and two, its displacement with this nitrogen gas. It's more for safety purposes. So if one were to excavate the pipeline, which is actually in place, it didn't get trenched out and removed, if one were to hit this pipeline, all they would hear is this gas. But that's for safety precautions. As part of your staff report, we do have a copy of confirmation from the state fire marshal that basically has officially found this pipeline as abandoned. So that basically, so to say, takes the liability of this particular pipeline away from the city. And with that, there is also part of your staff report, the financial, or excuse me, the revenue and expenses that went to this project, and we went below the $500,000 grant funds that were provided to the city. And now those grant funds are not reimbursable basis. We actually got that money up front with a check. So even though we saved money, that savings stays with the city. So, as part of the routine process of city staff going to the city council, staff's recommendation is to, one, authorize the mayor to sign the closeout agreement and release of claims with Beacon West Energy Group, LLC, and Pacific Petroleum California, Incorporated, and authorize the city manager to release the construction contract bonds after 1 year of acceptance of the work by the city. And that's reason in case within that 1 year there's some type of deficiency, it's for warranty purposes. But we still have leverage. We keep those bonds even after 1 year, or after 1 year of the acceptance of the work. So with that, that concludes my presentation.
Thank you for your presentation. Any questions on behalf of the council?
Yeah, so does this mark kind of the final step in this whole process, and now the pipe is just going to stay there sealed with the the gas that you said it's in there? Is there anything that happens next, or is it just there now for forever?
Yes to all questions, Vice Mayor. Through the mayor, this basically is the official closeout of this project on the city level as well as the state level. So the state fire marshal has again, the letter, the copy of the letter officially closes out this particular abandonment project.
Got it. Thank you. I wanted to be clear if there was anything further down the line that was going to be done with it, or if it's just put to bed, so to speak. So, thank you.
Any other questions? Okay. Seeing none, I'll go ahead and open up public comment. And I have Susan Allen.
This is such a fascinating subject here, and one I've actually followed for a number of years. Just a reminder, again, it's that institutional memory that I think is so important, is that pipeline was built or installed in 1980, I believe, or close around there, by Chevron, with an awful lot of promises of what they were going to give the city. Some of them have happened, and I guess the city signed off on others. It was kind of sad because we were supposed to get this wonderful trail system that just never came to be for various reasons. But I do have a couple questions. To get back to Chevron, Chevron was the people that, or a company that put that pipeline in, yet for some quirks in things that happened, they were never held responsible to go back and fix it, which I find rather sad, because it ended up that taxpayer dollars were used to do this project. So I have a couple questions. Number one, right now, and I'm not sure about Carpinteria Avenue, but at least through the bluffs, there's a number of markers that mark where the pipeline is. And I'm wondering how and when those are going to be removed. We don't need to keep looking at that. The money, the 170 funds are taxpayer dollars. It came from the state, but somebody gives the state that money. And I just want to remind you all that although Veneco went bankrupt, they did get a settlement from Plains Oil, so they have some money. And I'm wondering if the city is going to try and recoup any of that money, even though they got state funds. It just seems like everybody's skating here except the taxpayers. And I don't even know if that's possible, but it's just irritating to me, so I think I'll bring it up. And a concern about, and I heard it from a council member, what happens to the pipe? We've seen this in areas in tar pits. Even if the pipe is filled with something, there could be corrosion on the outside or damage. And then who's responsible for fixing it? And I guess maybe the people or company that damaged the pipeline. So I think, again, just some questions out there. So the pipeline may be abandoned, but I won't forget it. I think there's still some concerns out there. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. Any other public comments? Okay, I'll bring it back to the council.
So I move to authorize the mayor to sign the closeout agreement and release of claims with Beacon West Energy Group, LLC, Pacific Petroleum California Incorporated, for the former Veneco oil pipeline number 0470 abatement project, and authorize the city manager to release the construction contract bonds after 1 year of acceptance of the work by the city in accordance with the warranty required by the construction contract.
I'll second that. Ray, do you have some questions also for staff, if possible?
Yeah.
First one had to do with Ms. Allen's questions regarding the markers. If that's going to be included as part of the, I would say, the agreement to abandon.
Councilmember Noor, through the mayor, those particular markers are there for safety purposes, for identification should any excavation be done. Those are particularly there and must be there. Those markers shall be there for that purpose.
Okay. Answers that question. Next one has to do with the nitrogen gas. If that is actually an inert gas that's put inside the things for safety purposes, what happens if there is ever, which most likely would be the case, a leak and that were to depressurize? What would you then have for indication of hitting that pipe?
So, to the mayor again, should there be a puncture of the pipe, I guess we could call that, or some type of leakage from that pipe, that gas will be emitted. And those particular markers, if you haven't seen them, they actually have a phone number to call. And I don't know the phone number, but it's basically a call just like other utility pipelines. They have a particular number to call for emergencies. So again, I don't have that phone number in front of me, but if there are excavations, one should call USA, which is the Underground Service Alert. So there's protocols in place for all utilities, just like this. It would be, even though it's abandoned, it's a particular utility still that that must be identified, and what these markers are. And in regards to what happens when there's a leak, there's a particular phone number, and it's unlikely it will just leak on its own. It really would take some type of intervention, a physical intrusion of contacting that particular pipeline.
We've seen leaks on that before, though. Actually, that were had to be repaired mechanically because of corrosion or a faulty seal. So if that were the case, then that would not be due to contact.
That I don't know as far as any history of leakage. All I'm providing you is a closeout of a particular project that was requirement of the state fire marshal for us to abandon.
The other question I would have, since we're going to be stuck with these things for a long time, that phone number, what's specific? What happens when that changes? What happens if that phone number no longer operates? We go to a different system of communications. Is that also going to be as part of the of this, or will we have to update that as part of a city?
So this particular pipeline, being that it's abandoned, it's an abandoned status, and again, it goes through a underground service alert system, and being that it's already in the database of being abandoned, I'm not going to speak for them, but we would get the state fire marshal over to this particular leakage or wherever it's at in this pipeline. That as much as I know. I don't speak for this fire marshal, the state fire marshal, but I do know that this particular pipeline is in its database abandoned, and it's recorded, and we have information of the displacement of this particular pipeline. So that much I could tell. I know there's questions about protocols of what happens if this does that, what happens if it does this. I don't have those answers. I do know what's before you is a closeout of the project that we have been required to abandon, and that's what the city has fulfilled. And this has been confirmed by the state marshal with this letter.
Okay, last question I have, is that actually tracked? In other words, do we have actual coordinates, location coordinates of that pipe as it goes through the city? And will that be remaining in archive?
Yes, Mr. Mayor, it's actually a national database.
Okay.
So we actually have a national database, and it is, the name escapes me, or the acronym escapes me, but it's a National Pipeline System. Maybe don't quote me on that, but I think it's the NPS, I believe.
Thank you. Those are my questions.
Thank you. Yes.
If I may.
Yes, of course.
With respect to Mrs. Allen's comments regarding, the taxpayers are being asked to pick up the damage from somebody doing business. I completely agree with that. Although I do think that there's this public utility aspect to it that, the people who are using the gas, are receiving a service from this pipeline. But why should future generations pay for it? Why shouldn't that be tacked on to the rate where the people are using it? Or maybe there may be a better solution. And this is nothing that we can do. This is a broader topic. But, thinking of what the county's facing with the Sable oil thing, they're being asked to approve a pipeline that's a known bad pipeline. Shouldn't you obtain a environmental liability bond or something? I don't know if such a legal mechanism exists, but it seems like a prudent thing that should be done. Okay, I'm done.
Thank you. Any other comments on behalf of the council? Okay, we have a first and a second, and this is a roll call vote.
Councilmember Mayor,
Aye.
Councilmember Nomura,
Aye.
Vice Mayor Solorzano,
Aye.
Councilmember Clark,
Aye.
and Mayor Alarcon.
Aye. Okay, thank you. Moving on, I just want to reiterate for the public's knowledge, items number 13, 14, 15, and 16 are being re-agendized for a special meeting on Monday, February 3rd. Next on the agenda is legislative update.
Excuse me, Mayor Alarcon, we have no legislative updates this evening.
Great, thank you. Committee reports, inquiries, and other matters presented by council members.
Sure. So MTD met on January 21st, and they gave a project update for the renovated Terminal 2 in Goleta, which is almost ready for usage. They elected the board members, or board officers for this next year. It was the same as the current leadership, which they're really great, so that was good. They went through the MTD social media management policy, and then also we discussed the FY 25-26 work plan. Additionally, potentially of interest for Carpinterians, on Wednesday, February 5th at 6 p.m., MTD is going to be hosting a town hall in the library community meeting to discuss the proposed fare increases that MTD is going to be implementing. So they want as much public attendance as possible. So again, Wednesday, February 5th, 6 p.m. in the library community room. That's my report.
Thank you. Any other comments from council? Okay. Seeing none, attendance of council members for future meetings?
Yes.
Yes, seeing that everyone will be attending, I'd like to go ahead and formally adjourn the meeting, and it is 7:25. Thank you.